I'll record this meeting so that we can then come back and reference it. And I'll pop this up on Box so that if you guys want to walk through it, we can at that point. So, but project setups. So we're going to get some new projects coming through, and a lot of them haven't been set up yet. I have been mainly setting up most projects. So I want to make sure that everyone can also kind of figure out how we go through the project setup process in case they need to do it because I'm not available or I'm too busy to get it done. So we're still using BIM 360 / Autodesk Construction Cloud for everything. As you guys know, we're either hosting it internally through our cloud or we're getting invited. And more as we get design projects, we're going to be invited into these Construction Cloud projects here. So the latest one that we got was Boise State University Stadium North End. I guess this is a remodel. Jason, do you know?
Yes, it is. It's they're right now. It's just I think it's a grass area for open seating, and they're going to put in seats and put in a club and all this fun stuff. So yeah, it's an expansion of an existing stadium.
Awesome. So when you guys get invited to a project, either from me or from a third party, you're going to get an email like this. You guys have already seen this all on your own accounts already, but this one is the one we just got yesterday. And it's just smart to go and hop in and actually take a look and see what they've set up for you. This particular one here, we've only got access to food service, which makes me kind of nervous. So this might be a real short meeting if we don't have everything we need. One of the things I do look for, though, is some sort of write feature, like upload. If we don't have anything like that, then we don't have write access to the folder, and we can't put our project up there to write to. So we need to make sure that we have something there that says I can put a folder or a file up there and have some write access. So that's the first step, is make sure you actually have a folder to go to and you have write access in there. Sometimes they just give us access to the project and don't give us a folder. Each client's going to be different. I have one client who gave me admin access to the whole project, which I do not need, but that's their prerogative. So that's the first step, is just make sure you have that access. You can hop up to the project and you can actually see inside of there. So next is going to be to go and figure out what version the project's going to be in. And that can be figured out either from your PM, who's going to know that information, hopefully, knock on wood, or we've added a column to the design production list that's located under Box Projects Design. This is the same list we look at every Monday morning. I've added a column here called Revit, and I put the versions of each project in here. So that now we can hop in real quick and take a look at it and say, okay, project I'm working on, Boise, right here, is in 2024. So once you figure out what version you're in, you want to go grab the project template. So that for the people, well, for everyone, it's under Box, Drafting, which we all should have access to, and then Revit template. And we just finished updating this again today. We are officially on version 1.1. That's not the current one. That's from October. So I'm going to hop over to Charlotte just did some updates for this for me. Appreciate it, Charlotte. It looks great. Thank you. She's made it so now that whenever we insert our insertion point for all of the title blocks on views and such are correct and with the most common insertion point from architects that we're receiving. So it'll make our lives a little bit easier. And that's being updated now. So you should see that here momentarily. I've already downloaded a copy, and just to save time, I've already upgraded it to 24 so that we don't have to walk through that. So what I need you guys to do is grab a copy of this template, and then you can just put it on I've got it in my trash file here, which is just a folder on my desktop. Because everything in here is just going to be trash at some point. So I go and I find that new Revit template. And at this point, you should be getting a BIM execution plan that has some naming inside of there. If it doesn't have, all these architects and contractors are real particular about their naming for all these projects. They want to make sure that they have the same file that updates every time. They don't like, having anything dated, because then they have to relink stuff. They don't want to relink. A lot of these files are now live. So we're getting some really particular naming structures. If you do not have a BIM execution plan, most projects will allow you to go and look around at some of the other folders. And they kind of give you a good template on how to name your project. Unfortunately, the one that we have here only lets me see that one folder of ours, which kind of scares me, like I said, because I don't know if we can link in stuff later on. But usually you can see other folders for the other trades, architecture, so on and so forth, and you can see kind of how they're naming stuff. So this is their project number here, and then it's Cajun Fields, and then the actual what trade
Discipline or whatever.
Discipline, exactly. So we would be, in this instance, we're I think we're the exact same. Yeah, so we're Duray food service, so we're close. We're not quite the same, but we're close. They haven't bitched, we're not going to complain. So
yep.
But you can usually see kind of how they're naming their project here in this example. So we're going to rename our project here before we even upgrade or open it or anything. We're going to rename it right now. And since I don't have a naming structure, I'm just going to take out template, and I'm going to leave the R24 and Duray inside of there. So now I've got our template sitting on my local drive that's named for this project. If it was, if they gave us a naming structure, we could conform to it. If not, we're going to leave it really generic. At that point, we're going to come over to the project's version that we're working in. And we're going to go and locate that file. So that's in the trash here. There it is. And the next step we're going to hit is detach from central. So that technically, this template file is linked back to the template file that's on the R drive and box drive. We're going to make sure this is its own little version. So we're going to detach and open. We're going to detach and preserve work sets always. And at this point, you're usually going to get a little box that says we're upgrading to the version that you're in. And that takes a little bit of time. We're not going to do that here because, like I said earlier, I've already upgraded this one. Boom. We now have the project. It's ready to go. It is a detached copy. So we need to make sure we change that because we did detach it from central. And then I'll also typically do some of the naming stuff right here at the beginning. So that was Max. He's got a different name here, but that came in yesterday at noon.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that our project name is this one right here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to just click right in this project name and enter, change it. They're probably going to give us something later on to change it with, especially after our first issuance. So this may be changed at that point. But right now, we've at least put a project name in there that will then go through and populate our sheets and the title on the sheets here. All right. So at this point, you want to do a file, save as, project. And we're going to save right back over our project there. And if you go into options, you'll see this makes it make this a central model active save. It's already checked and grayed out, so you can't uncheck it. And you're going to hit save. It's going to say this already exists, and you're going to say yes. We know. This takes a couple minutes because it's creating backup files and making this the air quotes central file. At that point, we need to now go into collaborate, and we're going to collaborate in the cloud. And this button stayed there for a while, so I'm pretty confident it's not going to move. It's under collaborate in the cloud. And it's going to open up save as a cloud model here. At this point, you're going to go and find where we're saving it up in the cloud. If it's through us, great. If it's through an invited third-party company, we just go and locate that, put that in there. Go to our file, and you'll say this is the name of it. If you have a new name at this point, you can also add that in here, but right now we don't have the naming structure, so we're going to stay this way. And you're going to hit save. Saving as a cloud file or a cloud model. This takes a couple of minutes. And in 24, they actually started, they changed their status bar down here. I think it's actually more accurate than the older versions. We'll actually see if that's true or not. But while that's saving, I'm going to go back to that ACC. And once this is done, should be able to see our file up in the cloud in that food service location. I know I'm going fast. Anyone have any questions so far? Great.
No.
It's pretty basic stuff, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So it's now done. And you can see our files up there. Version 1 happened today at 9:16 my time. I'm the person who did it. So come back over here. Yep. Check mark it's saved. Good. We're golden. At this point, you just want to close this one. We're not going to use that file anymore. We're now going to go through and make sure that we can open the pathway the long ways. So I'm going to hop over to Autodesk Docs, go down to OPSIS. You guys can see here, I've got a lot of projects, access to a lot of different projects, but a lot of them say 0. And that's because they don't have a project in this version that I can see. So Autodesk automatically filters out projects that I can't use in 2024. So I go OPSIS here, food service. And at this point, I have all that same information. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open that cloud model. That's the majority of the stuff that's changed from the standard file that I've written. They tweak this every so often, so it's a little bit different path. But most of the way, it hasn't really changed. From this point on, it's pretty similar. So this point, and this is where I'm kind of nervous. We're going to go down to desktop connector, and I'm on 16 currently. And I have to select the projects now that I am referencing, which I only have access to 40. As a BIM manager, that's a little bit concerning, but we're going to cross that bridge when we get there. Stadium. Connected. I'm going to shoot down to coordinate start here, which is our generic that has no view template. We're going to go to manage links. Click on that top dummy. And reload from. Now this, we have the dummies in there just to remind everyone so that we can then access all of our pre-made view templates. And the view templates are set up in such a way that the standard stuff that we don't want to see doesn't show up. And this is standard stuff in every architectural file that we don't care about it. So I've got it already turned off, and we don't have to set up a new view template every time we open a new project. At this point, and this is what I was afraid of, we only can see food service and for the field. And there's nothing in for the field. So we don't have access to folders for the architectural model. So Jason, we need to email Max and say, we only can have access to the food service and for the field folder.
Okay. Let me grab a screenshot of this, and I'll email him now.
Okay.
And I've already emailed him asking for the BIM execution plan also.
Great.
All right, cool, done. Thank you.
So a typical project at this point you would start at coordinate start now, and you would then see the blank screen like we had in the last. Yeah, I already had a bunch of stuff. So again, we would manage links. We would select on that first dummy and reload from. And I've obviously already allowed access for this project because everything's there. And then we'd have to go and to Autodesk Docs, which is on desktop. So if you click desktop and you go to Autodesk Docs, you're now able to see all the projects that you've allowed access for in the desktop connector. And you can see this is the one we just did a second ago. The one we're currently in is KU through HNTB. I click on HNTB and then navigate to my project. You guys can see here, I've got more access to folders here. Architecture, and then I'd go click on that, the architecture file that I need. This will sometimes take some work on our part to figure out what file we need to access. And if you come in here and see, just like this one, you've got 8 different files, 9 different files that I've got referenced, then it's probably a smart choice to stop, contact your PM and say, listen, I got a whole bunch of stuff that I need to link in. I doubt all of them need to be linked in. Can you take a look and tell me what you want? In this particular instance, I actually had to go back through and contact the architect and say, what are you guys linking into your architectural file? And they told me everything but structural is actually linked into that memorial arch file that I've got highlighted. And if I try and link in everything else, I'm going to have some circular issues with LinkedIn files. So I only have to link in this memorial arch file. It is reloading, I think. And then click open once it stops giving me the spinny wheel. It's then going to bring that one file into your coordinate start here plan. At which point you're still going to have that view open, but you need to shift to a different view. The elevations. And that's not going to be sections, that's going to be building elevations. At which point we're going to go through and make sure all of our elevations are on the, are lined up with the current projects. The big ones, of course, it's taking. Here we go. So this is the coordinate start here. We're gonna go down to building elevations and click on one of these elevations. At this point, I would also recommend, just to save yourself some headache later on, that you switch your work set from Duray food service equipment to shared levels and grids. That way, everything you create from this point on is going to be on that work set, and that's a common work set that they filter out. Fairly common. I was hoping that was his answer, Jason. It's just your email though.
Oh, no. So you'll see our grids, shared level grids, work set. If you change this here, bottom one. Now everyone you create at this point will be on that same work set. Here we go. This was a hotel, so we have like 30 floors. There's a lot of coordination on this one, and one level is like 2 feet below another one. So you'll see I don't have it right there. So at this point, you're going to start copying and aligning with their levels. And you would also want to change the level names to match whatever they're calling their levels. So you can see our level here is level 1A to match their level 1A also. Level 2, level 2, level 3, so on and so forth. A lot of times the stadiums are lower level will be either field level or event level. Then in upper levels, you get like main concourse, upper concourse, club level, premium level. We need to match that naming so that they we correlate with them. So when they refer back to, you know, we're on, well, I need you to go to the upper concourse, we're not looking at level 5 and going, what are you talking about? So you're going to copy and paste to their additional levels and just align these to whatever's located there. You can see that mine moves up and down. Just like any line would. I just clicked up and it went down. Yeah, I know you're not happy about that. I see that error a lot.
Yeah. So all of our levels have been either aligned with theirs, or if we need to add new levels, we've copied and pasted up to those levels. And to rename it, all you have to do is click on level, the actual name, and you can type it in there. You can also highlight it and rename it over here in the identity data box in properties. At that point, once you are aligned with their base level, which is our level 1, coordinates start here should now give you a clear picture of the footprint of the project. And with us still being in the correct work set of shared levels and grids, we're now going to copy monitor all the grid lines that are in this project. Most of the time, we'll link in multiple files from the architecture. You saw in KU, I had the architectural background, structural background. Those are typically the two first that we link in, because structure is not always integrated into the architectural file, but architecture usually dominates for grid line identification and location. So when we need to copy monitor our grid lines, we're actually going to go collaborate, copy monitor, select link, and then click on the architectural file that we have linked in here. And even though it is the grid lines that's linked to structural, we need to be monitoring the architectural file's grid lines. At that point, I'll just do it here. Just not save. I'm selecting the link that I want, and I'm coming up here to copy multiple, and then zooming out so I can see the entire project. I'm going to go through and highlight everything in the project. And I know this is more than what I want. And then I'll hit the filter command and grab grids and click OK. It's now grabbed all the grids that are in that architectural file that I selected. And it's going to say, do you want to finish? There's two finishes. We want to use the lower one. You're going to click finish. It's going to, yeah, it's already copied. I know. And then it's going to give you, for some reason, I don't know why they're doing this. It's been going to modify instead of copy monitor. So you need to select this other tab up here and then click finish again. I'm clicking cancel because I've already done it here. But you would then click finish. You will now have a copy of all the grids that are single segment grids. And this is important for us doing stadiums. A lot of what we do projects we do have multi-segment grid lines inside of them, meaning that they're not just one grid that goes off for direction and then stops. It is multiple grid lines that curve or kind of curve around mainly a bowl, because a lot of our projects are stadiums. So you're going to be able to copy monitor all the grid lines that are straight, but not the ones that are multi-segmented that go around the bowl. To illustrate this, I'm going to open up the KU 50% drawing real quick here in PDF. And show you what I'm talking about. So this grid line right here, M, is a multi-segment grid. It ends right there. You got a number of them. J, I, looks like A3 is one. These grid lines can't be copy monitored and need to be manually selected. E1, D1, C9. I was really hoping my KU would recover, but it did not. So To do a multi-segment grid, you need to manually grab that one, and you're not going to be able to monitor it. We go to architecture, select grids over here. And it's going to give you this here. You'll see a multi-segment button at the right. You click on this one, it gives you the check and the X, and you can pick them. At which point you would go through and highlight the multi-segment grid line in its entirety. Find one end of it and start clicking each section till you come to an endpoint. Then you would click OK and confirm that the letter is correct. In this case, this was J that I was picking. Just switched windows. Yep, J is the one I went through. There's M. If you can get it to go in order, that's great, but we can always change the actual grid line by just selecting the bubble and putting in the new letter or number that it is. Once all the grid lines are then selected and all the copy monitored and all the multi-segment grid lines are selected and copy monitored, you now have a really basic project set. At that point, I would go through and create your mix plans. 90% of our projects, they're going to give us a PDF identifying the areas and the floors that we're on. So you can go through and create your mix plan. And then you can pop it on one of our sheets and adjust the view template scale so that it matches the sheet layout. Rarely do we get a title block at the beginning of a project. It does happen, but it's not typical. If we have a BIM execution plan, typically they'll tell us the size of the project sheets, 30 by 42 or 36 by 48. You're going to go through. You can't fit everything on one sheet. You can split it into multiple mix plans. That's not a typical. We'd rather you go to a smaller scale, but sometimes that is not achievable. So this one here is 1/32. I had to adjust our typical view template to match that to fit on this sheet. And I dragged our beginning mix plan over to this sheet. I then, so like I said, I have a PDF that's just showing the general areas we're in. You don't always get those, but if you have one, you can start identifying areas. You would open up the mix plan. Use the call out tool under view. And start making call outs to the different areas that are in our project. Conti old. I'll go through and make all the views I have on one level. And then what I'll typically do is, since they like to populate in the mix plans, I will grab all those views that I just made, come to my properties here and change to the correct subcategory that I'm going to be working under. Typically, that'll be mixed equipment plans next. I then go through and rename each view to correlate with the sheet that I'm on. This view name is not viewed by anyone but us. So it's just for our organization. And since we're going to be placing multiple views on sheets, which is why I wish I had KU open still. I like to go through and do A, B, like this one here. This one has an A at the end of it. To correlate with multiple views on a sheet. I'll then make sure that all of them are assigned, have the right view template assigned, and I can start creating sheets and dragging those views onto sheets. One of the easy ways for us to do that is to go through the DI Roots tool, which has a one of the programs in there called Sheet Generation. This allows you to come through, copy the placeholder template sheet that I've got going, sitting right here. This might go faster. Yep. There's nothing in here. And the latest version lets us duplicate and tells us if we want to duplicate different items on each of these sheets. Currently, we're not going to duplicate the views because we're making our views through the callouts. You already have the first sheet created. So if you have 8 views on that first sheet, you already have the first one done. So you only need to duplicate it 7 times. You duplicate. It will then make you a copy with the naming of each sheet, which is copy 1. At this point, you can come in here and change the name with our normal naming structure. The first one being the level we're on. The second letter being the view on that level. And the third letter being the sheet in that sheet set. If you have a title block from the client, I would encourage you to go through and actually look and see if they have a mixed or a key plan in their title block. Don't think I have one of these. If you can match their key plan layout, it would be advantageous for you later on down the road. Once you've created all these sheets and you've renamed them here, you can just hit apply. It's going to make these sheets down here. If you click on one, you're going to see it's got our title block, a schedule that's been duplicated, and then it's got a blank space for the new view. We're going to try and get into using guide grids for view placement. So you can come in here to the properties of just the sheet. I don't have the title block selected. I'm in the sheet itself. I come down to the properties and I hit guide grid 1. And this allows me to have a grid that we can then lay all this out on. Currently, Charlotte has set it up so that this upper left-hand corner is hitting this intersection in the guide grid. If we can hit that first complete box, that lower right corner of it, on every other sheet, all of our views are going to be in the exact same spot on every sheet. This is not a rule. This is a guideline. If you have multiple views on your sheets, you obviously can't have them all up in that upper left-hand corner but we're trying to create some consistency with our view placement. In the end, we want to try and maximize our sheet layout. But if you have some dead space, it's okay. At this point in your project, you can go through and just create as many sheets and views for equipment plans as need be for what you've been informed that we have on this project. I wouldn't worry about utility schedules, building conditions, electrical, mechanical, all those views yet. In the initial setup, I would just try and get the equipment plans and sheets set up. And then lastly, we've been requested to put room tags in each of these rooms moving forward. Mainly so that when a PM or a project lead, studio lead gets in here, they can see, okay, I can't use this room because it's a main electrical room, an IDF room, but this is my janitor's closet. It's my field, can't use the field storage, but I need to know where trash and recycling is. You can do that fairly simply by going into the view, architecture, room tag. That's the basic setup for a project. Do I have any questions? I know it was a lot.
Back and record it, I'll review it.
I'm sorry?
Might have to come back and ask you a couple of things and have it
Totally.
recorded. View it
Uh,
again.
Yeah, and like I said, I do want to update the standards book. I just haven't had time, guys. I've been just swamped. I know everyone's playing catch up too. Just to kind of give you an idea. My Wednesdays have gone from like 2 meetings to 10. It's a little stupid right now. But with your help, that should make this should get easier as we go forward. So I'll try and get these basic setups put together soon for us. So you guys can actually go back and reference the PDF file. But like I said, it hasn't changed that much. Once we've got it up in the cloud, I've got copy monitor already in there. I've got basic view setups inside of there. The DI Roots tool is kind of new. It's very useful. It's going to be more useful when you get to setting up multiple sheets. So if you have your building conditions that you need to set up, you can come in here and actually pick drafting views. Nope, sorry. What do I want? Floor plans. And then go through and actually start creating and duplicating your sheets in here. And then the nice thing about it is when you actually create your sheets, it allows you to go through and place the new view that you've created, building conditions, electrical, plumbing, onto the same location on the newly created sheet as the sheet that you duplicated from, which will speed up things quite a bit. I will, once we get Boise set up and some areas identified, I'll try and put together another quick call so that we can walk through that process a little bit too. I think it'll make everyone's life just a little bit easier. I also encourage you to come and look at some of the other tools in DI routes. SheetLink is very useful for schedules. It allows you to pop out the all-inclusive schedules to an Excel file. I know Laurel and Charlotte, and I'm pretty sure Paisley too, has gotten into this a little bit to start going back and forth and filling in utilities.
Yeah, or they wanted to add.
So we have some tips and tricks that we can use to make some of our lives easier. Well, no formal process, yes, on how to use them all. If you have any ideas on how best to do that, I'd be willing to accept them. So. Doesn't sound like anyone's got any questions right now. I will pop this recording up to Box, like I said, and share the file location with you all. And if you have anything you want to bring up later or ask questions about, let me know.